Hi. Hi again. How are you? Uh, I've been talking lately about the inner child, actually the wonder child archetype, and I'll be talking about that archetype tonight. And I made a video in Serbian lately about it, but I made a little mess out of it, so I just am not completely satisfied of how that looked like. So I hope this one will be a bit better. So, what is a wonder child and why wonder child? I am talking about it because I have some workshops that I've been doing, and I'm planning to do on with this topic. So I'm using this to explain what that is. And the wonder child is actually the archetype of the inner child that mostly everybody has heard about it. And when people speak about inner child, they usually talk about this joyful, authentic, creative part of us, which in reality, inner child doesn't really have to be. And when you talk about that part of that kind of inner child, this is the wonder child concept. And inner child can actually, and mostly is, our wounded part of ourselves that actually needs healing to become the wonder child, the child that we are in reality and that we all know how to be and actually are. So, wonder child is a concept of Carl Jung. In Serbian, when we translate it, it sounds different. It's more of something as if divine child. And for me, it's closer to truth because it's in reality what we all are. We all are children. We all once were children, and we know how to be authentic, creative, and joyful. We have just forgotten about it. And inner child is actually a part of us that's representing our emotional world, emotional body, and our emotional selves. And working with the inner child is part of transpersonal hypnotherapy with that archetype. And it's a regular part of my individual sessions. I never do a session without working with this part of ourselves because there usually is a lot of work that we need to do from this life, from the traumas and whatever happened in our childhood. Sometimes those traumas are the big ones, sometimes they're not so big, but for us, for our inner world, they are. And sometimes we created some thoughts and our own inner reality according to those beliefs that we carry from our childhood. And sometimes those beliefs are not even created from trauma, and they're not even our own because we pick them up from our parents and from our immediate environment. And during the session, we return this energy to our parents, mostly to our parents. And even in the womb, while you are in the womb, this is also work with the inner child. It's just the very unconscious part of ourselves. And during the session, people usually talk to me about even when they tell me that these are, I'm not in a hypnotic state, but they speak to me about the memories that are not conscious, that are not aware memories. So this part actually in a session serves firstly to help you get used to the process, to understand how it works, for your mind to get used to the process, and for you to understand how you receive information, to awaken your intuition, because once you connect to your wonder child, you are connected to your intuition, because children are intuitive. We all are intuitive children, and when we were children, we knew how to connect with our most inner being, with our hearts, and what is it that we wanted to be, why we came here, what talents do we carry with ourselves. And usually children, if you observe children, play it out in their games, in their fantasy world. Sometimes they have imaginary friends that they talk to, and those imaginary friends are usually guides. They can be animals, and kids talk to them. And if you listen to kids, you will understand that spirit world is real for them. So this is what we actually get used to remember what we already knew as children during the session. And this is why we don't do sessions with, we do sessions with youngsters and children only if necessary, because they normally remember all this and they play it out through their games. They play out past lives and they play out things from other realms of whatever they want it to be and why they came here, because children are connected, naturally connected. They have less layers of amnesia, and they're connected to their souls more. So when we work with the inner child, we work actually with this wounded part of you, with the emotionally wounded part of you, and these traumas can be from this life. So this is actually what we do when we work with the inner child, and they can be from past lives as we talked about, but this is already a part of the regression. When I work with the inner child, I never do a session without it, because I'm mentioning this because there are some clients, they don't want to go to childhood because they've had traumas there, and this is actually one part that we have to do, because, and the part that I insist on, because if you don't do this, if we don't integrate this part of yourself that's still hurting, and if we don't see what does this part has to tell you, you cannot go into a past life and you cannot receive the energy from the spirit world. You might receive information, but you might misinterpret them, because it's not about it's not about the information, it's about the vibration, and it's about the new energy, changing your energy, and you cannot receive it if you haven't done your work in this part. And it's also some sort of guarantee that you will go there, because clients, when they call me, they want me to give them some kind of guarantee that the process will be successful for whatever they have in mind of what successful process is. So this is one part. Second part is that when we do this with the inner child, we usually heal our own inner world. We heal our inner family, and I have a talk to your inner child, and I have you fix your inner world to create it and make it look healthy as ever you want it to be. If there were quarrels and your parents were fighting, I tell you to go into the scene and then create it, make the scene look like you always wanted it to look like. How would it make you feel better? And this is how we heal your inner world, and this is where it all starts. It starts from in the inside, and this is how your inner child is actually your first guide. It's always your guide. I mean, you might not be talking to it, but it's always telling you something. And usually children, when they're not tended, and when they're not healthy, and when they're sick, when they don't have our attention, they tend to give us temper tantrums and show us in some inappropriate ways that they want our attention. And this is what our own inner child is also doing. So it's sometimes, I don't know, if your body hurts and you have body pain, it's because you neglected your emotional world, and it's trying to tell you something like this. Or if you have inappropriate reactions to some situations, it's your inner child telling you something in this way, because I don't know, if you, in your inner child is usually coming in situations where you feel very stressed out, where you feel very tired, when you're hungry, when you're not sleepy enough, when your boundaries are overstepped, or you forgot to tend to your boundaries, or you don't know how to keep your boundaries healthy. It's individual for everybody. This is what we do in a session, and this is basically what I do in a group work, because you can work in a group session with your inner child. And this is what my workshop is about, and I talk about it in a group work. So I usually pay attention with clients, where is it that their inner child comes out mostly, so that they know that their inner child is telling them something in this way, and it's inappropriate way usually. But when you give it attention, when you regularly go to the place, to this magical place of your inner world, of your inner garden, when your inner child is all the time, and when you integrated it and brought it back home, then it doesn't have to give you temper tantrums, and it can talk to you in a different way, and it gives you messages. And when your inner child usually mostly appears when we in partner relationships, when we are in a conflict, when we don't know how to communicate with our partner, when we don't know how, when our needs are neglected by ourselves or by our partner, we tend to choose partners from this place of our wounded inner child, because we expect our partner to give us what our parents didn't give us. And it's not a conscious expectation, it's unconscious, and we can repeat this over and over again. We can have so many partners and not even notice that sometimes we choose somebody who's completely opposite to our parents, and we know so and we think so, but in the situations that are stressful, and when the relationship is not going well, when we are not well, especially if you want to break out from the relationship, this is where our inner child comes. And usually when partners quarrel, they usually quarrel from our inner child. Excuse me, from their inner child. So this is basically where inner child comes mostly. And come on, be honest. How many of us really, honestly, choose as a partner from a place of wholeness and holiness? We just do this automatically by our some liking, and the liking is where our schemes usually come out, because it's the energy pulling us to resolve and fix something there, and it can be from this life or a past life. And yeah, it's love. You feel love, and you also feel love from your parents, but so usually this love is very ambivalent kind of love. And by healing this, by healing your inner child and understanding it and listening to what it has to tell you, you're healing your inner world, you're healing your inner family, and you're healing your relationship with the divine family, and with the divine mother, and with divine father. And by this, you're healing your relationship with your inner partner, and then you can heal or choose differently another partner. If there is no more love, and if this was not coming from the place of love, you can choose it with the guidance of your inner child, because you can ask when you go deeply, really deeply, not from your mind. You just sit and ask, and no, your mind will be telling you. But when you go deep, and when you're in a hypnotic trance or a meditative trance, you can ask your inner child, do you want this person to be my father or my mother? Like you would ask your child, if you have a child and you are separated or divorced and you want another partner, you would ask your child, how would it feel about this person? Would they like it to be their partners? And of course, your natural children might give you many kind of answers, but your inner child knows, your healed inner child especially knows, and it will give you very authentic response in choosing wisely. And if it says no, you can ask him further and ask him why. And this is what I sometimes do. I didn't do this very much with clients, honestly, but I did it. I ask those questions in guided sessions when I do the Wonder Child workshop, and clients ask this question to their own inner child. And the way the group session looks like, the workshop, I do a guided session, hypnotic session. I guide you in a hypnotic trance, and then I guide you. You visualize or do what I tell you to do, and I ask questions. I tell you to invite your inner child, and you talk to it and ask questions. So you repeat those questions, and you communicate in this way according to the questions that I give you. And this is one of these questions, according to what I sense. If clients and the audience that comes at that moment are mostly people who are in relationships already, then mostly don't do it. But sometimes I've done it with with the audience that were mostly single, and yeah, it worked well. It worked well. Try, and you will see, but not from your mental mind. Try it from the place of your heart. Your inner child is in your heart, and your inner child is the first thing and the basics that anybody who ever works with people should work on. Whether you're in helping professions, meaning you're a psychotherapist, you're a guidance counselor, or social worker, whatever, whoever, or you're in the energy work, in a spiritual work, this is number one and a must, because it shows. It might not show immediately, but the more you work with other people, the more you're pushed to work on yourself, and more of your unhealed stuff will come up to the surface. And usually, mostly, they are in your childhood and in the way you are neglecting your inner child. So it comes up whenever you need to be the center of the attention, or to show your power, or want somebody else's attention, or like I said, when you're tired or stressed out, or when you have a client that's triggering you, or you're always, when you work with clients, you are always some sort of authority figure for them. So you represent either mother or father figure. But when you both function from the unhealed inner child, this is not very healthy, and it's not very good for your work, because it shows. Just me, it shows. I've been observing lately the scene around myself, and I've talked a lot with my mentors about it, and I've heard them speak about it. So this is actually, that shows mostly after some years of work. I mean, when you work from your unhealed, wounded, and sometimes hysterical inner child, it shows, and it's not nice. And it's also not nice when it comes up in relationships, honestly. And you can, I mean, if you want to be honest with yourself and sit down and write down on a piece of paper when your inner child comes out, I'm sure that and you will see that most of the time, 95% of the time, it's in your relationships, your immediate relationships, and mostly in the relationship with your partner, whether you still love this partner or you don't. And especially if you don't love the partner anymore, then it's when the inner child will come out the most. Maybe not when you are making compromises and agreeing on something, but when you start feeling stressed out and not okay with something. And this goes for both sexes, but I work mainly with women, so I've noticed it more in women, but it goes for men. It's just that it functions differently, because they sometimes need to be macho and they cover it up with different things, but it shows. And just think about it. I'm just throwing this out in the air so that anybody can think about it. We all come there sometimes. We're not immune to this, but it's a good thing to know that we can work on it. And no matter how much work we've done on it, there's always something that you forget. And if nothing else, it's when you forgot to eat enough and you're stressed out and cranky, like kids are sometimes when they don't eat regularly and on time. And then that's when it comes out. And it doesn't have to ruin any relationship or ruin anything for you. But if it goes on for a longer period of time, it just stresses the hell out of everybody who comes there. So just think about it. I've been thinking about it a lot, not only because I'm working with clients on this topic, but also because I worked a lot on myself. I've had very difficult childhood. My childhood was really tough because I come from an alcoholic family, and I first heard about an inner child from my first teacher, from Sandra, that I already mentioned, and she has given me as a gift this book where I first worked. Because it's a very 2-step book, so you can work on yourself with it. It's a self-help book. It's Healing the Child Within by Charles Whitfield, and it's for the families of the alcoholic families. And I've spent 3 years in Al-Anon. Al-Anon is our groups for families of alcoholics, of addicts from alcohol, and other addicts. So I worked a lot on my inner child, even before I started doing hypnotherapy. But once I did hypnotherapy, I worked even more, because I just didn't want to make any more of my choices from my inner child. That doesn't mean that they don't come up. That doesn't mean that those issues don't come up. But I try and I do my best to work on them in different ways. So one of the teachers of hypnotherapy who speaks really good about it is David Quigley, and he has some good things to say about it, and I've learned a lot, and this is why I can do the workshops. And yeah, this is Dragon. And Shakti Gawain also has a part of inner child. I'm not sure is it in this book, but it's mostly here. One of the greatest book of all times for inner child is Homecoming, and I'm not gonna tell. And you probably saw from who. I'm not gonna go any further into it, because it's basically I'm giving you knowledge that I paid a whole lot of money for free, but there's a reason for it, and I think I should, because it's high time for something like that, and we have to work on ourselves, because the energies are pushing me. And I also have other tools to work with inner child, and I use this. This is also what I got as a gift from my teacher Sandra. It's inner child cards, fairy tarot cards, and they really connect you to the most hidden parts of yourself. I don't use them as tarot. I don't use those things as divination tools, and from what I understood, they are not meant to, and the first intention of it is not divination. It's working with the archetype and archetypical mind. And I've spent a lot of time working with my own inner child, those cards worked for me well to understand and to develop my visualization skills. So this is what they're meant for, and this is how I use them. So why I show this in this video and I didn't show it in the Serbian one, because these are all in English. And when I speak about it these books are maybe Shakti Gawain, but the other ones are not translated. And when I speak about it in Serbian, some people are bothered. So I just speak in my English video about it. So whoever sees it is the one who meant to see it. So this is everything to feed your mental mind about what the inner child, or actually the wonder child and the wounded child archetypes are. And this means when we work with the archetype, we first work with the dysfunctional part, and we transform it, we give it meaning, and we reframe it, we transform it, and we create it into something beautiful, which is a wonder child. A wonder child is something that we all are. We're authentic children of the divine. We are joyful. We know how to be joyful. We are blissful because we know how to be blissful and happy and creative and nurtured and loved. And we know how to nurture and love our inner world and our inner selves. And this is your first guide. This is where it all starts. Your inner child, your wonder child, is your first connection to your soul. And this is why I speak about it, and this is why it's very important, because it's your inner guide, and until you connect to your spirit guides, it's your first guide. And it can come anywhere with you. It can still be your guide even after that, but it's from what I've seen working with my clients, it's very essential to heal the connection with our inner family and our inner child. Because if our inner mother and father are fighting, then the inner child doesn't feel safe. And if the inner child doesn't feel safe, nothing in your world, you are not safe. You don't feel safe. Nothing in your world is safe. And if your animus and anima are in conflict, your world is dysfunctional. Your talents will not be given a proper purpose, and you won't be able to ground this energy, the soul energy, and be authentic soul, because you will function from dysfunctionality. And when we speak about other archetypes, God, Goddess's archetype, divine archetype, they won't come unless, if you function from your unhealed, wounded inner child, they won't come. Especially this goes for women, especially lately we speak about a lot of our wild woman in the womb, and she won't come if she doesn't feel alive, if you're functioning from your inner girl, because the girl needs to be loved, and it's seeking attention and love in any way she can. But the wild woman and the goddess, she knows what she wants, and she knows what she doesn't want. The child also knows what it wants and what it doesn't want, but it can use dysfunctional ways to get it. But the goddess doesn't do that. She just leaves and won't come unless you heal your inner child, your inner girl and inner boy. This goes for the man too. So this is why I say that this is healing your connection to the divine. And speaking about, I don't know where my phone is, speaking about inner children, and speaking about wonder children, I've met some pretty amazing children, wonder children, who are, when they're healed and connected to themselves, are really teachers for us all. And I want to read something to you. It's in Serbian, and I think I should read it because this is, when I sat down to make this video, this was the first thing I saw, and I shared it, but I felt I had to read it. And it's gonna be a little bit slow because I'm gonna be translating it from Serbian, and it's for my clients. It's from a child. He was 19. From this point of view, he's a child, yeah. So I just want to read what he wrote. He died when he was 19, and his parents, his mom and his sister, were my clients, and they came to see me, and there are amazing ways that he gives messages to them, and I just saw this today, but they found this handwriting of his after searching the house and looking for some things of his own. So I just felt I should share this because we're talking about wonder children and speaking about how, as children, we know. Listen. Quantum physics has determined that all of the nature is actually energy, and that only when there is somebody who is a conscious observer, it behaves as matter. So when an observer is not aware, the physical world disappears, as when we are sleeping and we're in a sleepless and dreamless state. The absolute is all there is. Nothing is possible outside of it. The absolute is divine wholeness. Man's soul, is a conscious subject of the objective existence, individual emanation of the divine whole. Because of the very existence of a human soul, the nature shapes as it is in the entire life and existence. The soul, as magnet, with its own existence, attracts and shapes the energy of nature. In its higher dimensions, before incarnating into a body, the soul is aware of itself and its divine essence. The sense of human existence is to awaken here during life and become aware of its own soul, that it's the emanation of the divine wholeness. Then the divine wholeness becomes complete in a man, and it emanates through him or through her. Then the God becomes human, and human realizes, manifests God in this world, which thus becomes fulfilled with divine presence. He was 19 years old. There is a handwriting. And I can show you. I don't know if you can see. You can see it in my page. And this came from a soul. And it's everything that I've been trying to tell you now. This is why we work with the inner child, so that you can become whole and choose from the place of wholeness and holiness. And I'm grateful for this amazing message and a gift from me to share with everybody. And I'm grateful for the clients that came to see me, and I'm waiting for the moment to be able to speak about those sessions and the sessions with family of this soul and some of its fragments that also came to me in a session. And it's amazing, miraculous things that have happened since I'm doing this work. And really, thank you, my soul, and thank you, God, for everything. Thank you for this message. And yeah, share with me or come to see me in a workshop or say, well, whatever you need to say, just don't repress your soul. Don't forget to be connected to your wonder child. You see, he can bring you miraculous things. Happy New Year. Until the next time. Bye.